Morning, Lee.
Good morning, Lee.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Ali. How are you?
We're well, mate. How about you this morning?
I'm all right, thanks very much. I'm all right. I'm just steady mosey on down to the West Country, and yeah, we're doing all right.
So what have you got to say about what happened at the weekend?
This story doesn't exist if the officials do their job correctly and get the decisions right. We're not going to be talking about it. It's a non-entity. The story just doesn't exist. This boils down basically to, I'm not going to say the integrity of the officials because I'm not going to put that in. It's the competency of the officials. Do the job right, you have the technology, make the decisions, get them right, job done. This story does not exist. It's gone.
Well, I think you're right. I think it's glaringly obvious, particularly the third one. I can't believe it's not given, never mind having the referee Anthony Taylor sent to VAR. He must send them to VAR. But we've always had a problem with referees and officials making mistakes because it's a natural thing to do. Nobody makes more mistakes than the players and the coaches, surely.
No, you're right on that. No, you're right. The thing is, though, with VAR, we now have the technology for the the Stockley Park to turn around and say, Anthony, you need to go and have a look at that one. We think you've got that wrong. I think 2 out of the 3 were definitely penalties. The handball one for me was, and obviously the Callum Hudson-Odoi one.
Yeah.
Why can't Stuart Atwell get on the blower to Anthony Taylor and say, Anthony, you really do need to go and have a look at these. We think you've got this really wrong. And then it takes everything out of the equation. You've got a decision being made on the pitch and also with the help of VAR. And we won't have these horrible stories now about integrity and it's just horrible that the game is being dragged down. We love this sport.
You're right.
Let the sport be the sport and use your technology. But I do believe that the officials need to have more training regarding the VAR and also take advice from former players such as you, Ali. Take advice from former players and let them learn the game more from a professional point of view.
Lee, thank you very much indeed. Enjoy your trundle down to the West Country, won't you? Joining us now to discuss this is the CEO of Ref Support, Martin Cassidy. Morning, Martin.
Very good morning, Martin.
Morning, fellas. Nice to meet you both.
Thanks for coming on,
you
mate.
too. Right, it's a can of worms, as we said before. I would say to you, first of all, should referees be beyond criticism, Martin?
Oh, no, absolutely not. But when it goes into their integrity and their honesty and abuse, then that's where we've got a huge problem. I think Lee, the caller there, has a couple of fair points. And referees will always get things wrong. You know, it's just the way it is. But VAR has turned into another stick to beat officials up with. It's not the magic bullet because it's still subjective. And I think a lot of the things here, I think us as a charity would agree with a lot of the things that's being said by people. And I think if those conversations with VAR were open, I think everyone would behave differently. I think Howard Webb wants that, but he's getting stopped by FIFA.
I just want to quickly put a point to you, Martin, that it's come from one of our callers, but I've seen it from other callers as well. Kevin, Big Kev, he's a trucker. He said it's scary how dismissive the station is, and not just the station, I think the media in general, about corrupt referees. Police, judges, doctors, nurses, politicians. There is corruption everywhere you look, but no one will entertain the possibility that an English referee could be corrupt. What's your response to that?
I think that's fair. I think there's not one ounce of evidence that any match official is corrupt. People try to leverage in what Mike Dean said about when he said, he wanted to help his mate and frame that as corruption. That's not corruption. There's not one bit of evidence to suggest that. Have they got things wrong that they should have got right? Yeah, that's absolutely fair. You know, no one questions the player's integrity. So in Nottingham Forest, for instance, is every single player a Nottingham Forest fan? Mark Clegg is the owner said to Mark Clattenburg, I don't want you to analyse when we play Newcastle because you're a Newcastle fan. So this sort of like balance of like, you know, blame and integrity issues is outrageous. It's been a worst year I can ever imagine for the brand Premier League, from points deduction. Look at the stuff we had with Chelsea trying to get the ball off each other to take a penalty. You know, everything's in a mess. This over-emotional reaction from owners and players is destroying our game. And the only people that I see that have got any ounce of emotional intelligence on the football pitch are referees.
Martin, I want to ask you, if I may, looking at it, is it fair to say the one thing that was that we've introduced that was supposed to help and aid the referees and the officials, and this is VAR and cameras, is actually sending them down the wrong road. It's hanging them out to dry in many ways. I genuinely don't think there's a massive difference in the quality of referees now than there was 10, 15, 20 years ago. I think everything is clearly magnified 100 times nowadays by cameras everywhere, and I think the VAR, well, and I'll stand corrected. I said to Jeff earlier on, Martin, I thought VAR would be a good thing. My logic was anything that rights or wrong can only be a good thing, but I cannot tell you how much against it I am now.
Well, I think a lot of people, I think referees are fair to say that. And I think the actual is a toolbox in helping referees. That's what this is meant to be. But there's so much other things around it, Ali, where, like, you know, we've got this. Remember when VAR first come in? They weren't even going over to the monitor. So we've come an hell of a long way with VAR in a process, but no one ever seems to be happy. Everything you try to bring into the game at top flight level, which incidentally everything's reflected at grassroots level. So this sort of comment by the owner, you know, the grassroots, I see it all the time on Twitter, are going to batter grassroots referees on social media even more than ever. So I really need to do that. But what's happening is there's the object against sin bins, the object against points deductions for discipline, the object against everything to make the game better. But they don't do anything themselves. They don't offer anything at all. And when Lee said there, the core about having players, let's be honest, we've seen on commentary on TNT the other week, the top flight pundits getting law wrong. So that's clearly not the answer.
Yeah.
But I do think we need to engage more with the professional footballers and people with real knowledge of the game like yourselves. But Ali, did you ever think of becoming a referee?
No, I didn't. That's
the problem. Yeah. That's the problem. Everyone is keen to have a go at a ref.
Yeah.
But they're not so keen to have a go at refereeing. And that's the major problem we're up against.
Martin, he hasn't got the emotional intelligence. Look, but I've got to pull you up, Martin. It's good of you to come on this morning. I've got to pull you up on that though. When you say the only people on the football pitch with any emotional intelligence are the referees, I think every single football fan in the country would disagree with that statement, and it's insulting to players as a whole, isn't it?
Well, no, it's not. Can you show me? Look, let's go back to what I said about the
You're
Chelsea.
tarring everybody or trying to tar everyone with the same brush.
Listen, I'm not, Jeff. That's a fair comment to say I'm trying to tar anyone. But in my opinion, for what I see in the way anyone on the field of play that loses their emotional, you see it on the line, you see it in the middle, players and managers. See some of the thing that gets thrown at match officials during the game. Do you ever see them really losing their rant? Ever? Do you ever see them losing control of their emotions? No, you don't, Jeff.
Yeah,
so I think it's a fair analogy to say the only people that lose their control of their emotions are players and managers. I can't see any other one else on a field of play that does that. The referees should be absolutely applauded for that.
Martin, just finally, how do you want this all to end? Is there a good outcome?
Well, I've got faith. I've got faith in people like yourselves and the general football fan who won't go on the line and abuse people. I've got faith that they can help us make the game better together. Really, really have. But what people's got to realise is what happens at that Premier League, including owners tweeting absolute nonsense, over-emotional nonsense like that, has a direct effect on the game at every single level. And all of us need to reflect and see how we address things like referees' errors. That's what I want from everybody in the game.
Martin, is there any improvement at all at grassroots? Because I'll be honest with you, mate, I go to, I was at 3 kids' games at the weekend, and generally speaking, honestly, and I don't know, you obviously can't tar under the same brush, but the respect towards referees is not perfect, but it's getting better. I think there has been a steady improvement, certainly in all the games I go to. What's it like overall, mate?
See, Ali, I think it's another really good point. Both of you are making brilliant points, just because the majority of people in football are good people. I said that earlier. And they need to have a stronger voice than the people who's got the bad end of the stick who want to abuse referees. But listen, I get it. I get it almost every day. I get messages from parents of children. I get messages from people who are in the army who are so committed to being a professional guardian of standards of the game, they can't react when they go to bed at night and it plays on their minds. And I think people need to understand that. Let's give the good people the good people in football a bigger voice than the bad people, like people like the owner of Nottingham Forest.
Martin, just when I'm on, see those referees that do the kids' games and all that stuff on a Saturday and a Sunday up and down the country. I've got to say to you, mate, I think they do a great job. They have got absolutely no chance. With no linesmen, no officials to help them. They're effectively guessing offsides, and it's not their fault. I just think they're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks. And you know what, Ali? That's going to mean so much to the grassroots referees out there. This is why it's important good people like you will stand up, because they are on their own. How do you think a player, a little child, copies a goal celebration from Ronaldo or somebody? You see it on telly. So it'd be absolutely naive to think they'll only copy the good bits, what they see in football. So it's really, really important. And I just, the bravery, I get a lot of stick for saying this, the bravery of anyone to cross that white line and go out there and control a game, particularly grassroots football, is never lauded enough. The FA are doing some great work. They've done more work over the last couple of years to protect grassroots referees than anybody else. Brilliant. I don't see the FA or anyone else doing the same levels of protection to referees at all.
Martin, brilliant. I used to referee my kids' games at sort of 15, 16, 17s. I absolutely loved it, I can tell you that. Martin, thanks very much for joining us. He gave up
because he didn't have emotional intelligence for it.
Thanks, Martin.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.